February 4th, 2024. February 4th, 2024. The most recent dream from tonight. So the dream started late at night, what seemed like late at night, and I was in my bed with one of my adult German Shepherd dogs. And the bed was rocking as if it was on a swing, as if the bed were suspended like a swing. If you could imagine it on chains, one chain on each corner going up to a swing beam, and it was swinging long ways, not sideways, long ways. And it was swinging back and forth, rocking, swinging, back and forth, back and forth. And the motion was becoming more and more extreme. Like when you're a child and you swing too high and you feel like you're going to ride the swing up over the top pole, up over the suspending pole, and you're going to get dumped out of the swing. It was rocking more and more extreme like that. And in the dream, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. I was so tired. And there was an awareness in the dream that what was rocking the bed was like a demon, a demonic entity. And it was trying to scare me. It was trying to terrorize me. And I was so exhausted, I basically almost didn't care. I just snuggled up with my back more against my dog and just tried to sleep through it. And there was a knowing in me in this dream that this demonic entity is nothing in comparison to God. And therefore, I should shake myself out of this dream and command it out. Those who know the drill. And that dream segued immediately into the next scenes of the dream, which I posit are the relevant scenes of the dream, the meaningful parts. This part about the bed being like a swing and what was causing it to rock like that, and threatened to dump me out of it onto the floor and all of this nonsense. That was just a precursor, an explanation of what it segued into. So it segued into a scene in the dream where I got up late at night and I walked out of the bedroom and I walked down a hallway and I walked through a living room area and into like a kitchen connected with a dining room / TV entertainment room. Kind of the TV was in the dining room and whatnot. And in this dream, I had a baby. I was carrying this baby, which had been sleeping in a crib in the bedroom. I carried the baby on my hip and through the hallway, the living room, and into this kitchen / TV room area. And I saw my one son, my younger son, and he was about 7 years old, and he was eating like cereal out of a bowl or something. And he had been completely brainwashed and lied to, not by me, by his father. So he just looked at me with this hostile hatred, this cunning in his eyes. And then there was my other son, and my other son, who was like 8 in this dream, 8 or 9, he looked pudgier than in reality, but not a healthy kind of pudgy. He was swollen. His face was swollen, very swollen. And he was bald. And he was shaking his head, like shaking his head no, except for it was like spasmic. It was like seizure activity. It was basically like shaking his head no and seizure. And he had these swollen, raw, red spots, red marks on his face to where they were wounds, basically. And then he had these Band-Aids in several places on his face, and he was just standing there, shaking his head like no, but it was like in a spasm, like in a seizure, just this constant shaking his head no, like he was shaking really hard. And his whole body was shaking, his arms, his shoulders, his whole body was shaking. But the motion of his head was shaking no, in that spasm, seizure kind of way. And in the dream, I had this terror, this horror, like blooming, coming up inside of me, because I knew. And I stepped forward into the room, and he looked at me, and he was shaking his head harder, and like he didn't want me to make any noise or say anything, or it's very important for me to be very, very quiet, and he was being very, very quiet. He wasn't making any noise despite how he was swollen and the red marks that were like bloody and the bandages, all the swelling in his face, he had dark circles under his eyes, all of it. He wasn't making any noise. It was a silent, silent terror that I know far, far too well. I stepped forward into the room, and I saw him, and I tried to comfort him, but quietly, very quietly. And then in a few seconds, in the dream, his father came into the room. And his father beckoned him down the hallway into what was a laundry room in this dream. And his father said his name, and he said, "What is this? Like, why isn't this cleaned up? What is this?" He was getting very worked up, demanding, "What is this? What is this? Why isn't this cleaned up? Why why didn't you do your job in here?" And then he proceeded to beat my son, to batter him really badly. And in this dream, I put the baby down, the little baby I was still carrying, and I attacked my son's father. I attacked him, and I was punching him and slapping him and screaming. And my son was horrified because he knew. He knew that my doing that would only lead to his father lying and perpetrating abuse by proxy. It would only mean, because I wasn't going along with the program, his program, that he would do anything in the world, anything in the world to eliminate me. He could call the police and lie. He could call others and lie. He could do anything in the world. And he had, and he would do it again. And it was like my son knew, like he was never going to see me again. And then I woke up. So that was a dream. February 4th, 2024.